Hi, I'm Larry Puckett, the DCC Guy. Today on the DCC Guy, I want to tie up some loose ends. There's a few things that I've discovered over the weekend after my video that I released on Friday concerning the Just Plug system from Woodland Scenics, and I want to give you some tips on that. I also have a couple of other devices that I want to show you from NCE that actually will work with Just Plug fixtures or with LEDs on their own. And then finally, if there's time, I want to show you a little secret about sugar cube speakers. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do it. It's fairly straightforward. You know, there's a little button right here on the lower right-hand side of your screen that you can click on and subscribe to the channel. And I'd really appreciate it if you would do that. And you'll be notified every time I put up a new video. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. Well, I've gone ahead and zoomed in here on the workbench so that you can take a look at a few things. You know, in my video the other day on the Just Plug system from Woodland Scenics, I mentioned that some of these little trim pot knobs have failed on me in the past. And that's because if you over tighten them, they will break. And let me show you what one of those looks like. Basically, they're pretty much what you would expect, just a little plastic casting. And right here on the end of it, and it's so small you probably can't see it, but there's a little tiny plastic mark where there used to be a little projection. And that projection is what fit into the top of the trim pot, the potentiometer on the board that allowed you to dim the lights. The little projections on these are very, very thin and very small, and that's why they're so easy to break. And that's actually what breaks. The trim pot itself doesn't break. So let me show you how that works. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on, and right here you can see this is what is inside. Let's zoom in a little bit. This is what is inside of one of these light hubs that I've shown you. And on the back of it, you can see there's 4 transistors that are part of the circuit. There's this whole bank of resistors that feed into those and the like to drop the current some. And then over here on this side, we have a, let me turn this off before I short something out. On this side, we have a bridge rectifier, and that is what converts the AC to DC. And we have this capacitor, and that helps filter the AC signal and give you a good a cleaner DC signal to power to go to your lights. And then here, these are the trim pots, and I still have 3 functioning ones. They turn real easy, but you got to be careful. And you can see here this little gray area right here in the middle. Okay, now that is the adjustment part of the trim pot. So if I go ahead and take a very small screwdriver tip and insert it right here, I can adjust that trim pot still. So it's fairly easy to do that once you know that that works. So let me turn it on, and I think, yeah, I can use my little I can use my police car right here, and I'll give you a demonstration that shows that you can go ahead and still use this trim pot to make adjustments. So you can see I'm able to adjust the brightness still without any problem. And it's by simply using a screwdriver inserted in that little gray adjustment part of the trim pot here. And by doing that, you'll be able to do it. So if you ever break one of these little knobs off, it's a simple matter to disassemble the light hub, remove this little broken knob that sits in here inside, and then you can go ahead and put a screwdriver through the opening and still adjust the brightness of your lights with your Just Plug system. So I hope that addresses some problems some of you might have had. I know I've got several of these that are broken. I think about 4 of them like this. Now I have a way of actually using all of the outlets on the light hub. So take that to heart and don't break them. But if you do, there's a way to fix that. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is a couple of devices from NCE. And the first one here is called a Light It. And basically that's what it does. You can use it with DC or DCC. I have it attached to a NCE power cab output, so it's running off of DCC right now. And you can see I've got an LED, a green LED, hooked up to it right here. Now, the neat thing about this is there's a lot of programmable capability in here. You can use this as an accessory decoder mode. You can use it in locomotive mode, and that allows you to use individual addresses for each one of these guys. Okay, and you can install this in, say, a caboose or in passenger cars, or if you need it, in a locomotive for additional lighting. And then you can consist this with your locomotive and control it using the consisted functions. You can, use individual addresses for it. So there's a lot of capabilities for these little guys. And more importantly, there's 14 different programmable lighting effects that you can use with these. And it's very easy to change these. So right now I've got it on solid. So what I want to do is show you how quick and easy with the power cab I can change that. So all I need to do first is I'm on, this is still programmed for address 3, which is, what it comes at. That's the default. So I'm going to go into programming, and I'm going to program on the main and hit enter. And I'm going to program 03, and I'm going to do CV programming. And I want to program CV 137. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to enter a value of 8. You can enter a value from, I believe it's from 1 to 15, maybe 0. But at any rate, there's a table, lookup table with different effects, flashing effects, strobes, beacons, the whole 9 yards. And all you have to do is enter the value. I'm going to enter a value of 8 and hit enter. And you can see it's now emulating a rotary beacon. Okay. Now let's try a different one. Let's try the same CV 137, and we'll enter a value of 15. And I'll show you what that does. So you can see now it's gone into a rapid flash rate. So there's a number of these different flash rates and that type of thing. Like I said, there's 15 different effects on these, and it's obviously very, very easy to program these. And you just use ops mode programming like you would for a locomotive. So there's a number of different things. You can daisy chain these with your DCC going from one to the next and have multiples of these in line in case you wanted to use it on a structure or in a passenger car or something like that. Let me go ahead, and I want to show you the illuminator, which is the next level above this one. And by the way, you can install 3 different LEDs on this board. Okay, so there's a positive, 5-volt positive right here, the first leg, and then there's 3 negatives. So you can daisy chain the 3 positives and have the individual negatives controlled by default, functions 0, 1, and 2. So that's basically how you would turn these on and off. So let me move on to the next one and show you how the illuminator works. And this one is pretty neat because it's got, as you can see here, it's got a screw terminal right here where you can use wires running from your DCC bus to this terminal. And then there's an output, so you can daisy chain those. Also note, when you turn function 0 on, it also turns on this very bright light. And as I said, you can turn that off. Now, if you look real close, you'll see that at the heart of each illuminator, there's one of these lighted boards. So it's built right in here. And then everything else is a takeoff of that. So you've got a power transistor here and, a capacitor and things of this nature, because you can drive a lot more LEDs with this one than you can with the lighted. It's got a lot more power. So with the lighted, it's mainly 3 LEDs. You might get away with a couple of extras. One thing you also can do with these is that you can control the brightness. You can there's CVs for dimming as well. So there's a lot of things you can do with these. And because the lighted is the heart of the illuminator, you have all the same functionality. You can control 3 different outputs, and each one, you're just connecting a just plug fixture, lighting fixture into it. You can control 3 different just plug devices using this single board. And let me show you how that works. So what I've done here is I've attached a red LED to this short section of cord that I cut off on my on the extension cord the other day to use as the power supply from the MRC power pack. And as you can see here, I've just plugged it in and run the LED here. So let's turn that on. And that's on, okay, this is function 0, function 1, and 2. So all I have to do is, and again, this is programmed for address 3. If I hit 1, you can see that the flashing light comes on. And again, I can change that. I can go into program mode, programming on the main with Loco 3 using CV mode. And we're going to go with 138 this time. And let's enter a value of 8 and change it to a rotary beacon. Okay, so you can see it's now emulating a rotary beacon. So that's basically how this works. And you can attach, as I said, several different just plug fixtures to it and control them, from the throttle of your power cab or whatever DCC system you own. Because this doesn't, it's not limited just to North Coast Engineering or NCE systems. You can use it with any DCC system. And as I said, once these are programmed for a certain lighting effect, you can use these on a DC-powered setup. So they're worth taking a look at. And, their address is, the web address is ncedcc.com. And I'll include that in the description for this video. So take a look at these. They're worth giving NCE a look. And, I'm sure you can think of ways that you can use these. Another thing that they are built into these is the NMRA has a signal protocol, and you can use these to program lights to use with signal heads on your layout and control them from using DCC. Now, I have not got into the details of how that works, so that's something you'll have to dig into yourself and read about, but these can be the heart of a signaling system on your model railroad as well. And, you can go to the NCE website and download the manuals on these and get an idea of how this actually works before you go out and buy one. Okay, finally, I want to take a look at Sugar Cube speakers and what makes them work, what makes them so special. This is something I've always wondered, but I've never been, curious enough to destroy one of these to look for an answer. However, I got curious the other day, and here's what I found. So this is what's inside of the speaker. You can see we have this very strong, I can't shake it off, magnet. So it's a very, very strong permanent magnet in the back here. And then on the front, you can see this metallic diaphragm. And on the back of that diaphragm, we have a copper coil. At least I assume it's copper. It looks like it. Okay, so we've got this coil here. And when a variable DC signal coming from the decoder, from the audio amplifier that is on the decoder, sends out that varying DC signal to the speaker contacts, it causes this to form an electromagnet. And that either pulls the diaphragm towards the speaker or it pushes it away from it. And when it pushes it away from it, that pushes air out, and that's what we hear. So that's as simple as it is. That's how it works. So it's really not all that different from any standard speaker, except possibly in the design here of this coil and this diaphragm, this metal diaphragm. And also the fact that it's got this very strong magnet here. So that's how that works. Now, another one that I want to show you, this is an iPhone 4 speaker. I got this off of eBay for about, I think, $4. So you're getting a speaker, you're getting an enclosure for about $4, whereas you're going to pay, $10, $12 for something like this on the internet. So, you can get yourself a very nice speaker. And what I've seen on the internet, I saw a couple of different postings comparing these speakers to your standard Sugar Cube speakers. And basically, the iPhone 4 performs very well. The iPhone 5, not so great. But the iPhone 4 speaker is a very nice speaker. And if you look at traces of the sound waves being created, they're almost identical between this and the standard Sugar Cube speaker. Now, if you ever wondered what does it look like inside, well, here you go. So you can see this is just part of it. Because one thing you can do is you can cut this off right about here and seal it with styrene and liquid cement there and create a smaller speaker. And this one is almost identical to the full-sized enclosure in the sound that is created. And they're both comparable to a Sugar Cube. If you see here, basically you have a very strong electromagnet. You can see it's very, very strong and comparable to the same thing that's in the Sugar Cube. And then you have this copper coil that forms the electromagnet. And then you've got this plastic or mylar diaphragm here. And so that's the main difference. You have a mylar or plastic diaphragm instead of the metal diaphragm that's on the Sugar Cube. But it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of difference in the sound quality and the decibels. So, this is something, if you want to look this up in a little bit more detail, just do a search on the internet for iPhone 4 speakers, versus Sugar Cube speaker, something like that, and you can find the details of what I've just been talking about. And at some time in the future, I'll do an installation showing how you can use one of these iPhone 4 speakers in a locomotive instead of one of the Sugar Cubes. Well, I hope that answered a lot of your questions that have been lingering in your mind about, what a Sugar Cube speaker is, how does it work? I know for some time I've wondered what they look like inside, so it was worth it to cut one open just to give you and me a perspective on what the big difference is, what's so special about these little speakers. So, have a good week, and we'll see you on Friday with another video. Stay safe in the meantime. Bye now.